What's up, boys, and welcome to the first video on my YouTube channel. Today we talk about Chelsea rating predictions for FIFA 21. If you enjoy the content, please drop a like, a subscription and turn on notifications. To begin this video, we start off with the Chelsea goalkeepers. We start off with Kepa Arrizabalaga, who in my opinion will be getting a downgrade in FIFA 21 from an 84 rated to an 82. Kepa had an appalling season. He had the worst save percentage in the Premier League with 0.545%. He conceded 47 goals and only had 8 clean sheets in 33 appearances. We now move on to Willy Caballero, who in my opinion will be downgraded from a 75 to a 74 rated card due to his age. As you get older in EA, you tend to get downgraded. He had 5 appearances, he had 1 clean sheet and he conceded 7 goals. We now move on to the defence. Start off with Azpilicueta, who in my opinion will remain the same at an 84 rated. Azpilicueta can be known as Mr. Consistent in Chelsea, and after a solid season I believe he will retain his rating. We'll now move on to Antonio Rudiger, who in my opinion will get downgraded from an 82 to an 80 rated card. He was very error prone this season. He was often called by opposition attacks. Now, for Reece James, in my opinion, will be upgraded from a 73 rated silver card to a 77 rated gold. He had a very solid first season for Chelsea, really good in the offensive stage, but he needs to be more aware defensively as there was too many lapses in concentration. But despite this, it was a breakthrough season for him. We now move on to Marcos Alonso, who in my opinion will retain an 81 rating. He had a very Alonso season insofar as he was good in attack and he scored some important goals for Chelsea, but he was very poor in defence. It wasn't a great season, but it wasn't a bad season either, so in my opinion he will retain the rating. We now move on to Kurt Zouma, who in my opinion will also retain his 80 rating for the FIFA. He was our best defender this season with some very important moments like his block versus Crystal Palace, but in my opinion I think an 80 rated card is fair for Zouma. We now move on to Emerson Palmieri, who in my opinion will get downgraded from a 77 rated card to a 75. He started the season off very well, but unfortunately looked to shadow that player after he got injured, and this is the reason I believe he'll get a 2 rating downgrade. We now move on to Fikayo Tomori, who will get upgraded permanently from a 72 to a 77, and his 77 rated card will be the same as his upgrade he received in January. He showed lots of positives in his first season in the Premier League, so I think it's a very fair rating for him. Now we move on to Andreas Christensen, who in my opinion will get downgraded from an 80 to a 79, as he had a very poor season again. He was far too inconsistent for Chelsea, and while he was playing he conceded 33 goals while he was in the defence. We now move on to the first major signing in the Chelsea squad this season, to Thiago Silva, who in my opinion will be downgraded from an 87 to an 85. He will bring leadership to the Chelsea squad, but due to him getting older, as with Caballero, I believe he'll get downgraded. We now move on to Ben Chilwell, who in my opinion will receive an upgrade from a 79 to an 81 rated card. He had a decent first half of the season with Leicester, but he tailed away after Christmas, just like the rest of the Leicester team. And I believe he'll get this upgrade due to his early season form and also the transfer. We now move on to Ross Barkley, who in my opinion will remain the same again. He had a typical season that Barkley has, and he showed some bright sparks, especially after lockdown, but his early season form can't be ignored. And he only got 1 goal and 4 assists this season, so in my opinion a 79 rated is very fair. We now move on to another one of the breakout stars for Chelsea this season in Billy Gilmour, who in my opinion will receive the biggest boost of any Chelsea player from a 62 rated card to a 72. Showed a lot of promise at bringing that squad, especially against Liverpool and Everton, but unfortunately received an injury, but this is very promising sign, so I believe he'll get a massive upgrade. We now move on to Jorginho, who in my opinion will stay the same again. He had a much better season this year compared to last, and he was our most vocal player. He showed great leadership and scored some important goals for Chelsea, but he will remain the same. Now we move on to our player of the year, Mateo Kovacic, who in my opinion will get upgraded from an 82 to an 84. He was the most improved player in the Chelsea squad from last season to this season. He showed his qualities this season, and insofar that he was so press resistant, so when he had the ball it was very hard to get off him, and he improved his stats with a goal and 3 assists this season. We now move on to one of the downsides of the whole season in N'Golo Kante, and in my opinion he'd be downgraded from an 89 rated card to an 87, as he did not have the best season for his standards. He was constantly injured, and when he was fit his levels were just nowhere near the same. We now move on to Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who just came back from a serious injury near the end of the season, didn't get a lot of playing time. So in my opinion he remained the same rating, and it would just be harsh to downgrade him. Now we move on to Mason Mount, who is another one of Chelsea's best players this season, who in my opinion will get upgraded from a 75 rated card to an 81 after a great first campaign. He had Lampard's trust and he's an ever-present in the Chelsea squad, and he was our most creative midfielder this season with 7 goals and 5 assists, and he was the engine of our team. We now move on to our new record signing, Kai Havertz, who in my opinion will get upgraded from an 84 to an 85 rated card. He's off a very good season in the Bundesliga for Leverkusen with 18 goals and 9 assists in all competitions, and he would have got an upgrade regardless if he got this big move or not. We now move on to our attack. We'll start off with Tammy Abraham, who in my opinion will get upgraded from a 76 to a 79, and another player who had a great first season, and he was our top scorer in the Prem with 15 goals and 3 assists. He's very important in the early part of the season, but he slowed down near the end, but still managed to score goals against Arsenal, Palace and Liverpool. Now we move on to Michy Batshuayi, who in my opinion will get downgraded from a 79 to a 77, and he had another frustrating season this season. He struggled for minutes, and when he got the minutes, more often than not, he didn't justify getting the minutes, with only 1 goal and 1 assist in 16 appearances. We now go to the opposite end of the spectrum with Olivier Giroud, who is a player who showed what happens when you take your chances. He had a great end of the season after struggling to originally get into Frank Lampard's squad. He could have left in January, but he decided he wanted to stay and fight for a spot, and at the end of the season he was our number 1 striker, and he was a big reason that's why we got Champions League with 8 goals and 18 appearances. So in my opinion he'll get upgraded from an 82 to an 83. We move on to Callum Hudson-Odoi now, and in my opinion Callum will remain the same, as he didn't have the best season because it was injury setback after injury setback, but he's shown quality in a number of games that he has played, and in my opinion he will retain his 74 rating, as a similar situation to Ruben. We now move on to Timo Werner, who in my opinion, who I know will go from 83 to an 87 rated card. This has been a confirmed rating, and he's another German off a great season in the Bundesliga. He had 34 goals and 13 assists in all competitions, and he had 28 goals in the Bundesliga, and he was behind only Lewandowski. He's a very exciting sign, and he'll have. We now move on to Christian Pulisic, who had a very good season in the Premier League last season, with 9 goals and 4 assists in the Premier League in his first season, despite having injuries, and he had a big impact for us in the tail end of the season. Just like Giroud, he was very important, and in my opinion he will be upgraded from a 79 to an 81. Now we move on to the last player in this video, in Hakim Ziyech, and this is the signing I'm most excited for in Chelsea. I watched him a lot last year, and especially in Champions League when he was at the Bridge, and he got 8 goals and 21 assists in all competitions in 35 games, and this is why I know he will get he will be upgraded to an 86, as EA would have looked at his games. Thank you all for watching the video. Remember to leave a like, a subscription, and I see you all next time. I'm out. Peace.